we had the opportunity to take on a lot of money years ago, and we deliberately didn't do that. But like, at what point do you sort of compromise, and what point do you change the game? Because I think the challenge, I think anyone in a sort of software business or sort of economy has, is like, well, the way the model works is that there's a point where your customer changes from being your user to your investor.
Right.
And sometimes, and often, quite commonly, it's quite common for the interest of the investor to be orthogonal with the interest of the user. And that's one of the main reasons we have gone the way we have. So, you know, in the context of mindfulness apps in particular, for me, I think the purpose of a good mindfulness app is to help you get to the point where you don't need one. Yeah. And that is like kryptonite to an investor. You know, like you know, it's all about monthly recurring revenue. And I'm like, well, actually, like, I've always been motivated by like, how can the person using the product learn and become independent? I think so I've been very grateful for like having been in this sort of, been one of the first players in this space and being part of the growing of mindfulness apps. And but it's not without its problems. And I've always, like, the reason I hope that's not too noisy in the background, but the reason we just had a kid and a second child, a daughter, and
congratulations.
We've only got a 2-bedroom house here, and so we're basically, when I say only, we have a 2-bedroom house here, and we can't extend it because of where we are, but we're basically moving loads of walls and
Oh, got it. Yeah.
to make our life more viable, which also means that there is
yes.
What was I saying? So yeah, just saying how I think a lot of companies, I've worked for organizations with 100,000 people. I've worked for arts organizations. I've worked for my own company and whatever. And I think everyone talks about values, you know, like, but what do they, like, at what point, when do they, for me, it's about like, what makes you make the decisions is really what values are. It's not words on a wall.
Right.
It's the compass for your corporate decisions, I think. And I think that, if anything, through the last few years, the thing, like, that's what we've been mindful of, is that actually, like, what's our like, how is this improving the lives of users? What's this saying about mindfulness as a experience, or as a product, or as a category, and so on. So that's been my sort of driving thing or compass through this whole adventure. And also, you know, I talked a bit before about how I sort of have a very sort of traditional mindfulness meditation background, and I have teachers, monastic, non-monastic, and one of my good tests is like, can I take what I'm doing, present it to a really senior Western mindfulness teacher, you know, like a Sharon Salzberg or a Jack Cornfield or John Kabat-Zinn, who I met recently, who's awesome. Yeah. Can I present my work and they recognize it, you know, and that's actually a really good test for me, and one I sort of something I think about a lot. Like, what would Sharon think? Is like, well, what would John do? What would John say if I was showing him this feature? And I think that's but that's part of my company and my work, in that I see my work in that tradition, whereas other mindfulness companies don't necessarily see themselves as that. You know, they're not in that context. It's a market opportunity and whatever. So that's a different value set, and that's fine. I don't.
Well, I think a lot of entrepreneurs struggle, right? Like, you start a business for whatever you're passionate about, whatever that might be. Could be selling clothes, but you know, in this case, it's, you know, the value system is, I want to share meditation with other people, business people that are busy, and how they can incorporate that into their lives. But as you get into business and as an entrepreneur, you have the ego that also pops in there. And I think for many business leaders, that's a struggle, right? Like, just like you said, from your value system for what you intended your company to be, but then you see competition or what you would need to do to grow, and you've got to push past where your value system is. So I think,
and then and I think, and also there's another thing, which is the the cult of the individual, the sort of the myth of the hero entrepreneur, like doing everything, and which is again it's in the opposite direction. So if if it would be like a sort of stereotype, the spiritual journey of being seeing through the limitations of ego or self or whatever.
Yeah.
But then we're in a industry which valorizes these sort of hero entrepreneurs. And I've spoken in big conference stages and been that guy, and it's incredibly attractive, and it's incredibly, like, there's a real it's really alluring, and there's something to it. It's definitely like, but then many companies like mine, the founder has a particular angle, and so you need to play into that game. So it's a constant tension, because my perspectives on mindfulness are different and unusual, and so we have to front and center them.